Welcome to the Fantasy Boss Show. I'm Isaac with Jacob here today.
How's it going?
We're going to be talking a little bit about trade do's and don'ts, and then we're going to be ranking. We're going to do early power rankings for our Dynasty League that we are both in. So, quick thing that we're going to talk about is Demaryius Thomas signs a 1-year, $6 million deal with the New England Patriots. Jacob, what do you think about this deal?
I think it has its ups and downs. They don't really have someone that is a deeper threat because they're more of a dink and dunk type of team. Go short, screen passes, slants over the middle. So it's nice that they have a deep threat too.
I see Demaryius Thomas. This seems like a 1-year, try to stay in the show. He might pan out, he might not. But the fact that they're willing to pay him $6 million proves that they have some confidence in his ability to recover from his previous injuries.
Yeah, I think that them willing to pay him $6 million says that if he does produce, they are willing to give him a longer contract. But I think he has to do well enough where he's a big impact on their team.
Exactly. Okay, so we're going to be moving on to a keep, trade, cut. This is Dynasty, 3 receivers that are very similar. Calvin Ridley, Cooper Kupp, and Jarvis Landry. So, Jacob, who are you keeping, trading, and cutting in this scenario as a Dynasty owner?
Yeah, in my opinion, I'd keep Calvin Ridley just because he's a young guy, and I think he'll be the prominent receiver in Atlanta as soon as Jones retires. And he did pretty well last year, showing his rookie debut. I'd trade Cooper Kupp because at this point people are interested in what he can do, and I think he'd have good trade value. And I'd cut Jarvis Landry because I just don't like the role he plays in Cleveland because of Odell Beckham Jr. coming to Cleveland.
In this scenario, I would be keeping Jarvis Landry, and here's why. Jarvis Landry, his whole career, has always had to play the best cornerback on the other team. He's always been the number one option. But now, coming into this, with Odell Beckham taking away some of that coverage, Jarvis Landry could be seeing some easy coverage, and the offense is going to be very powerful with their plenty of weapons with Nick Chubb and Baker Mayfield also. In this scenario, I'm going to be trading away Calvin Ridley because I think Calvin Ridley's ability and his stats are being a little bit inflated by some lucky touchdowns in the red zone. The Falcons don't tend to use Julio Jones in the red zone, but I still think that Calvin Ridley got more touchdowns than is really easy to project. So I'd be trading away Calvin Ridley, cash in on some of that hype, and he's young, so people are willing to pay for youth in Dynasty. I would be cutting Cooper Kupp, and I would be cutting Cooper Kupp because he's coming off an injury, so I think that his value isn't worth trading, and I'd rather just keep Jarvis in this scenario. So we're going to be moving on to a few do's and don'ts for trading. So my first do is meet with this owner if possible. If you're in a league where you know these people and you interact with them daily, I would really try to work most of the trade deal over face-to-face conversation rather than texting because it's easier for them to say no if you just send them a message and then they just say no and then it's over. But they kind of have to hear you out more if you're with them. And that played out in your trade with Ethan. Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I ended up hanging out with Ethan after school a little bit by driving him home. And that allowed me to get a deal that took us a couple days to work through. A deal that I personally liked, but it had its ups and downs.
What is one of your do's in trading?
One of mine is try to get the best deal possible, talk with different people, try to communicate, see what people are feeling about this particular player, depending on who it is. And then know who you're trading with, what their favorite team is, who their favorite player is, because that would allow you to get better value for what you're willing to trade away.
That's very, very smart. Because if you know that a player is a fan of Vikings or Packers, you can maybe get a little bit more than you should for those kind of guys.
Yeah, and realize what the person you're trading with, if they're a win now type of person in a dynasty setting, or if they're a win later, like Isaac stacking up.
Yeah, I'm a win later kind of guy.
How many picks do you have this year? First round picks?
7 right now. Might have 9 soon if a few trades pull through. Should be. Wait, no, I have 6 now. I should be able to get to 8.
One of my don'ts is don't trade too often. It just limits your options and don't get to see what your players can do. And then don't take too big of a loss on players. When you're trading, you're gonna get some ups and downs. You're gonna gain in another position and lose in another. It's just how it goes. You're hardly ever gonna gain in 2 different positions.
Mm-hmm. One of my don'ts is don't make horrible trade offers. There are a few people in our league. You know who you are. Some people just send offers that I feel like they didn't even take any time to consider if it helps me. The deal should help both players involved in some way. And this goes along with the points you were saying before. Know who you are trading with. So if you know that I'm a win later kind of guy, I'm probably not going to be buying your 30-year-old veteran who really hasn't done anything the past 5 years. So just think about that when you're going into a trade. Okay, so moving on to the final segment of today's episode is we're doing the power rankings for our Dynasty League. Jacob, why don't you kick us off? Let's start off with number 10. We'll work our way up.
I do think that in our particular league, Ethan Tucker had a tougher year with, who do you have? Was it McCoy?
Yeah, McCoy really let him down. Same thing with Freeman.
He had a tough year. Freeman got injured right away. That hurt him a lot. But I do think next year he will get a little better. Jordan Howard went to...
Jordan Howard is on the Eagles right now.
On the Eagles now, yeah. So that frees up Tariq Cohen to...
that does help him a lot.
Do some things.
One thing that I saw that Ethan's been doing is he's been really gathering up running backs. His entire bench is really running backs now. Mm-hmm. He made a trade where he traded away Jared Goff, got Darius Geis and Dalvin Cook, both of which are high upside running backs. Mm-hmm. Haven't really proven much, but really projected to do well. Just the reason why I have him at 10 along with you is just the quarterbacks just aren't really there. He's got Marcus Mariota, who's been banged up the whole time. Mm-hmm. Ryan Tannehill, who's now the backup for Marcus Mariota. And Carson Wentz, who's really the only startable option, but yet again, injury issues. I just don't see him being able to sustain a complete season with those kind of guys at quarterback.
His back issues have really been prominent. And I do think he does have Odell Beckham Jr., but that's really his only viable
that's the main
receiver.
Asset right there. Other than that, not much really
Allen
special.
Robinson
but
could be a big factor, but it all depends on if his quarterbacks can produce.
Ethan does have the 101, so if he does end up taking Kyler Murray, that instantly boosts his quarterbacks through the roof. Moving on to number 9, we both have Julius at number 9. Julius came in to, just explain what situation he came into.
He came into a very tough situation, along with Jake Tremblay. I have him at number 8.
Both new owners taking on teams that were somewhat abandoned.
Yeah.
Not much there.
Yeah, I just think that them taking on teams that they didn't really choose to have was a tougher situation. Mm-hmm. And I would like to see them get higher.
Yeah.
If,
they're up for the challenge.
Yeah.
I think that Julius, he has more weapons than Ethan does. Ethan Tucker, I'm saying. Because he doesn't have that one guy who you can just point to, He does have Kerryon Johnson, but he is not nearly at Odell Beckham's level. He also has Jimmy Garoppolo, promising quarterback, and a few other pieces such as Hunter Henry and James Washington, who could end up surprising us. He's a little weak in the draft department. Cole, the previous owner, most of his trades involved giving away picks, so Julius is only in possession of 2 2019 thirds, and that's it for the next 3 years.
And I do think Jake at number 8 does have a big upside with having Tyreek Hill.
Mm-hmm. As long as Tyreek is able to avoid whatever law trouble he might be getting into.
Yeah. But he does have some weapons that he can use.
Derrick Henry and Joe Mixon, for example,
which I think would boost his overall in the standings.
Yeah, I think Jake has a better chance than the previous two owners we've talked about to make a playoff run, possibly, if not now and into the near future. Moving on, our first controversy here is between me and Jacob. Jacob has me slightly lower than Jeremy. I have Jeremy slightly lower than myself. Both, I think, we're in similar spot team level wise, but different team makeup.
And I think these two could be interchangeable. The reason I put Isaac lower is that his rookie picks have to pan out.
Unproven.
If they don't, if they don't pan out, then it's not going to work out too well. And I think he could possibly drop below Jake at that point if they don't. But at this present moment, I think Jeremy has a better outlook just based on who he has. With Sony Michel, I think he could do well.
Julio Jones as well.
Julio Jones.
Zeke.
Zeke Elliott, yep. The one thing I don't like about Jeremy's is he does have his second running back is a run by committee, which is Sony Michel.
It helps to have two bell cows, definitely. So moving on to what is
number 6, right?
Number 6.
No, 5.
Number 5, right? Yeah, number 5. We both have Joey at number 5.
Yeah.
Joey has really came into his own here. The problem is he did trade away 3 first-round picks in a deal with me to get Todd Gurley, but that is a cornerstone piece.
You have to keep in mind that as soon as he did trade for Gurley, he has not lost.
Exactly. So he is really, except in the obviously
playoffs. But
he wasn't in the playoffs this year.
No, he made he didn't.
Oh, he started off really low. That's what it was. Yeah.
He wasn't able to make.
Yeah,
the playoffs.
he wasn't winning games. Then he traded for Gurley and really turned it around. He has here. Let me just read off a little bit of his lineup: Jared Goff, Nick Chubb, Todd Gurley, Corey Davis, DJ Moore, Stephon Diggs, Zach Ertz, and Baker Mayfield and flex. He could flex a few guys: Latavius Murray, Adrian Peterson.
Sam Darnold could do well for him.
Yep, Sam Darnold could really turn it around.
And with Demaryius Thomas going to the Patriots.
Aside from being low on picks, I think Joey is really in a good spot right now. I
do think
contender.
He had one of the best trades, trading for Nick Chubb for practically nothing.
Oh, yeah. Right after our startup draft, he traded away Ronald Jones and a third-round pick for Nick Chubb, which really turned out well for him. I think that's the best deal made in this league history. That was a nice trade made by him. So, moving on to the teams we think will be in the playoffs this year. Number 4, we have Jonah. Jonah has really has a few really good young players who I think will be carrying his team to the playoffs. For example, Juju Smith-Schuster, Michael Thomas, Saquon Barkley. Yeah. He's got a few really good young guys who will be around for a while. Brandon Cooks as well. The only issue I see with Jonah, why I have him 4th, is it's just, aside from those guys, it doesn't really look amazing. He has Cam Newton at quarterback, which, if he's healthy, he's a really good player. But Mitch Trubisky, Case Keenum, Joe Flacco, Josh Rosen, none of those guys really make me think that he's secure.
He is lacking a third running back and a flex spot.
Depth
at this
mostly.
Point. And a tight end as well. But, I mean, if he
has not traded away a pick yet. So that is good. Good thing he has going for him.
But if his buys do pan out where he doesn't have overlapping buys, I think he'll do pretty well.
Yeah, that's kind of luck of the draw kind of thing there.
Yeah.
But Jonah at 4. Number 3, we have Ryan. Ryan, when you watch this, you're not going to like that we have you at number 3 because you think you're at number 1. But we have you at number 3 for a few reasons. One of the reasons I have him at number 3 is just aging talent. Most of the guys on Ryan's team are starting to really get up in age. Ben Roethlisberger and Phillip Rivers at quarterback. Matt Ryan is still somewhat young, but even he is aging. Lamar Miller is aging. Marvin Jones, he's fairly old now. He does have a few young pieces, though. Devontae Adams and DeAndre Hopkins leading his receiving core there. That's a really good core. And James Conner and Marlon Mack at running back. Those guys are very good players. That's why we have Ryan at 3.
And with Mark Ingram going to Baltimore as well.
That helps a lot. Still aging, though.
Yeah.
And Ryan, only pick Ryan has left is a 2019 second round, courtesy of Julius, because Ryan traded away his picks for the next 3 years in addition to Aaron Jones, and he was able to get Odell Beckham, which he then traded away for. It was Odell and Njoku for Kittle and Julio, which then he traded Julio for Marlon Mack and Marvin Jones. That's hard to follow, but if you're in our league, you'll understand. Yeah. Now for the people we think will be in the championship this year, one of them right here, who we have at second, Jacob. Jacob, why don't you walk the viewers through your team here?
So I did trade away a ton of my picks. Not as many as other people, but
one trade with me.
One trade with you.
Keenan Allen.
Yep. Which ended up trading away 3 firsts, which kind of hurt me a little bit. But I did end up getting.
That was in prime playoff push mode.
Yeah. I was hoping to get to the championship at least. I do have Winston, Melvin Gordon, Aaron Jones, T.Y. Hilton, Edelman, Brown, Kelsey, McKinnon, and Rodgers. And then backup running backs are Kareem Hunt and Lindsey, with Tyler Boyd as my backup wide receiver, with Fitzpatrick and Cousins as my backup quarterbacks. I did end up trading a ton of my picks, so I don't have a first rounder or a second round. I have a second round in 2020, but most of the picks went to Isaac.
You don't really need picks with a roster like that, though.
Yeah, I did end up I traded McCaffrey very early on, which I regret at this point, but it is what it is.
Moving on to the player that we think who won it last year, who we think has a really good chance at winning it this year. I would say his chance is 30 to 35% him, and then about 15 to 20% to each of you, Ryan and Jonah, and then the rest of the league just fighting for those last percentage points. So let's go through Ethan's roster a little bit. He has Pat Mahomes and Deshaun Watson at QB, also with Tom Brady as a backup. So he's got some young starters who are going to be around for a while, performing well. At running back, he is Alvin Kamara, David Johnson, and Le'Veon Bell, also with Chris Carson in there. So a solid core of guys, a few younger.
I think some things that are holding him back, though, are his tight end spot, which isn't really a huge deal in this league.
Yeah.
But
Greg Olsen and
as
Jack Doyle.
Some people have mentioned in our league that he has a lack of depth, but really nobody has depth in this league.
Mostly people just say he has a lack of depth to just get on his nerves.
Yeah. Because we have 18 roster slots, which makes it tough to have
20.
depth.
20.
Is it 20?
Yeah.
It's even worse.
Yeah, I know, it's so deep.
I
don't even know if the waiver wire has any guys on it anymore.
It doesn't.
I pick up a guy and I drop him and nobody cares because they're all. I just dropped Chris Hogan and nobody cared.
But we do think that Ethan does have the greatest outlook on his running backs, especially because Alvin Kamara doesn't have to have a committee of running backs now, and he's by himself.
Only other guy there is Latavius Murray, but he is not Mark Ingram's level.
No,
for sure not.
And with Bell going to New
York,
Jets,
he's the only guy there. They're gonna feed him the rock.
Yeah, but you never know. Him not being, he'll probably have a slump at the start, but he'll probably pick back up to where he was in was it 2018? 2017.
Before he
decided to take a vacation.
Yeah, jet ski around Florida. But Ethan's team's looking good.
Yeah, we did talk about Ridley early on about being a good Dynasty player.
Yeah, definitely.
And we already talked about his outlook.
I think that. Oh, well, in our league, if somebody wins back-to-back, they win what's called the Empire Pot, which $100 every year of our pot is set aside to the person who wins back-to-back. So if Ethan was to win this year, because he won last year, the entire league would reset, and we would have to redraft, and just all the picks you traded for go back to the previous owners. So the league really does not want Ethan to win this year, aside from maybe a few of our weaker members of the league, so that they could get another chance at drafting. But for most of the people, I think that's what's going to hurt Ethan, is people aren't going to be willing to give him another piece when his guy gets injured, because they're going to want to feed him to someone like you or Ryan, who hasn't won yet, and would so that you would have a chance to win and stop the back-to-back. But then you would be the one who people would be going after.
There's always got to be that one guy.
Yeah, there's always somebody that everybody's going to be going after.
Oh, we were going to talk about Russell Wilson's contract.
Oh, yes. Russell Wilson secured the bag. That is definitely.
It was 4 years, $140 million.
Oh,
He's now the highest paid player in the NFL right now.
Wow.
And I think that does good for everybody in the league, just
Mm-hmm.
for boosting players' contracts.
Yeah,
And
he
all
deserves it. He's a really good player. Even at a run first team, it's nice to have a guy who can
Mhm.
roll out. He can extend the play. Dynasty, I think this definitely increases his value because it shows that they trust him and he's going to be able to do a lot now that he's not worrying about his money situation.
Along with them possibly getting another wide receiver instead of Doug
Exactly.
Baldwin and Tyler Lockett would probably be a good idea.
Tyler Lockett's really good in the red zone.
Good deep threat guy, not too good on the short passes though.
Let's talk a little bit. Let's combine these two topics. Let's combine our Dynasty League plus trading. Who are your favorite people personally to trade with and why? And who are your least favorite to try to trade with?
I think I can go with my least favorite first. I think my least favorite is probably Ethan Tucker.
I would agree.
Just because it's tough trading with him, just because he wants big guys for a bunch of decent guys, which is tough to do, especially when I don't need a bunch of decent guys. Maybe earlier on in the season, if he would have offered me some of these, I would have done it, but not at the present moment where I'm not in a huge need for backups at this point.
You got to give him credit, though. He doesn't fall for any tricks.
Yeah, he tries very hard.
He's very
to
vigilant.
Make deals constantly. Yeah, looking out. Favorite to trade with?
I would say
Probably-
one of my favorites is you, and
Yeah.
here's why. Because whenever I message Jacob on Snapchat and I'm texting him, half the time he opens the chat before I finish the message. So just the accessibility there, like some other owners, I'll message them and I'll be waiting 2 days for a reply. Whereas with Jacob, I know exactly what he thinks about the offer I just sent him, and we can work a trade out quickly from then on.
Yeah, I would agree with you're probably one of the easiest ones to trade with, just because the communication is there.
That helps the trades a lot when
Yeah,
just both owners are able to discuss it.
and I think we have similar views on price of players.
Yeah,
and-
player valuations. It's so much. The one thing that I say a lot in our league, but Cooper Kupp is really one of the few guys that everybody agrees on his value. We all know he's at the wide receiver 15 to 25, somewhere in there. So he's been on my team 3 times. This is his 3rd time on my team, I think. He's been on nearly half the league's teams at this point. He moves around a lot. He's quite a journeyman in our league.
And things to keep in mind too when you're trading is everything's opinion based. There's different evaluations on players, that kinds of stuff, and that's very apparent in our league. A lot of people have very different opinions on players.
Yeah. One thing
bottom.
I would say is you can't really evaluate a trade in the moment because later on it might be completely different. Here's a few examples. One of my first trades, I traded with Ethan Tucker and I gave him George Kittle and a few other side pieces for Rob Gronkowski, which at the time I thought this was an amazing deal. Wow, I just got Gronk for a tight end I haven't really heard of, a 2nd round pick and a few nobodies. So I thought that deal was really good for me. But it turns out George Kittle's actually amazing. Gronk's retired. And now that kind of
And you're out
hurt me
picks
a little
and
bit. Yep,
three
I'm all
players.
picks and 3 guys. So I think that you can't really evaluate a trade in the moment. Of course, if it seems completely lopsided, it probably is. But you can't. If it's close, you don't really know until later on.
And your trade for Lamar Jackson too.
Oh yeah,
was a good one.
yeah. It ended up paying off really well. I traded with Henry back when he was still in the league. I gave him Eli Manning and a 5th for Lamar Jackson, a 3rd and a 4th. And he wanted this because Lamar Jackson wasn't starting at the time, and Eli Manning was, and Eli Manning was solid at
It was
that point.
Flacco, right? Flacco was the starter at that time.
Yeah, Flacco was starting instead of Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, and pretty much as soon as you traded him, Flacco
Yeah,
got hurt.
yeah. And then Lamar Jackson took over and turned into a running back, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, one thing I would also do is if you're in a dynasty league, especially, I would keep a trade document where you keep track of every trade that you've made, maybe a few notes about it, just so that you can make sure that in the big picture you're not completely getting like wrecked on these deals.
Or
Like-
have an app that, like, we use Sleeper.
Yeah,
which
Sleeper's
allows you to
really
go
good.
back and look at what trades were offered to you or what trades you accepted.
Yeah, I like Sleeper a lot. I would completely recommend it if you're on ESPN or NFL or something like that. I would make the switch because, especially for Dynasty, it's just so much easier than something else like that.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say is your favorite trade you've made up until this point? Or a few favorite trades?
I think my trade for McKinnon, Breda, and Antonio Brown was beneficial and a first and second round was beneficial for me and Ethan Miles. I ended up trading David Johnson and
Speaking of that trade.
All right. Ethan, hop in.
How are
Here,
guys?
you can take my seat.
Okay.
Ethan's hopping in. This was not planned.
So we are talking about my trade with Jacob Brickman here, where I acquired David Johnson, Le'Veon Bell, Calvin Ridley, Des Bryant, dud, and that's it.
And at that point, Bell still hadn't signed with the team
Yes,
and was 40 pounds overweight.
those are true statements.
Yeah. I think it was beneficial for both of us.
Yeah, it was a good trade.
Yeah. I did end up turning that first round into Kareem Hunt, which now looking back on it isn't the greatest deal on the planet, but it could end up doing well. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad I made that trade. And we were just you drove me home one day after school, and I was like, "Hey,
There you
want to
go.
make a little trade?" Well, I'd say that my favorite person to trade with is Jacob Brickman, the man to my left. Your guys is right. Right? So, I would say this for two reasons. One, he's always down to trade, and two, look at reason one. And my least favorite person to trade with is Ethan Tucker. One, his team is complete dog crap. And two, he overvalues his players. Like, they overvalue communism over in Russia.
No, that is right. I think that everybody should have the same things as other people, so it is equal and there's no issues.
Thanks, Vladimir. But yeah, I agree that Ethan Tucker his team's bad. He's got no assets. Yeah.
Oh, you want to talk about that trade with Keenan Allen? And
Yeah, sure. Let's do it. So I acquired Keenan Allen, a man with no hair that is on his head, but it's on his face. And I gave up Julian Edelman, a man with another big beard, and a pick, the fourth pick in the draft,
And then I ended up turning that fourth pick in the draft into Aaron Jones.
because he traded with some idiot who is currently editing this video as we speak. I believe that Aaron Jones is worth way more than the fourth overall pick. Who are you going to get at the fourth overall pick? DK Metcalf? What? He's got like 0.negative% body fat, but like he's going to get hit once, out for the whole entire career. That's my 2 cents on that.
What is your opinion on Russell Wilson's contract?
Making him the highest paid player ever.
Mm-hmm.
Well, good for him, you know. His team's kind of garbage right now. Who's he got? Doug Baldwin. Shout out to Ryan for choking in the championship game. Doug Baldwin. But he's got Chris Carson. He's got, what's his name? Rashad Penny. Yeah, sorry. And he's got that other receiver, Tyler Lockett, who's so touchdown dependent. It's actually ridiculous. All right, so regarding the rankings of our Dynasty League, boom roasted. Based on this upcoming season, I'd have to rank my team first. My only weakness is tight end. And
As mentioned before.
nobody cares about tight ends. Name the fifth best tight end in the league. Exactly.
Eric
His name's
Ebron?
Tyler Eifert, and he's gotten hurt the
it-
past 10 years.
Is it Eifert? I have no
I don't
idea.
know. But that is my only weakness. My receivers. My fourth receiver is Kenny goddamn Galladay. He's a beast. All right.
And arguably the best player on Detroit.
That's some facts right there. Arguably, as in, he is the best player in Detroit. And my running backs, unreal. I've got Alvin Kamara. Stud. Straight up stud. They got rid of Ingram. They brought in Latavius Murray. He's like a poor man's Ingram, all right? He's not going to do as much as Ingram did. He's not going to take away that many carries. My guy, Alvin Kamara, gets receptions too. So, yeah. And then my other guy, Le'Veon Bell. He's good. Check his 2017 stats. He didn't play 2018, obviously, but now he's on a better team than the Steelers, so it's all good. And David Johnson, yeah, his offense kind of sucks, but he's still David Johnson, the beast. My fourth running back, Chris Carson, won me the championship for the league last year. Shout out to Ryan Mish. Rest in peace. Your playoff hopes. And then my quarterbacks, Patty Mahomes and Deshaun Watson. So, the next tier for my rankings would have to be Jacob Berkman's team. To my left, you're right. And then Ryan Mish's team. This is because I just have a grudge with Ryan because this is my water, but I'm going to take a sip.
That's my water.
And Berkman's team just has better assets. He just acquired Aaron Jones from a little guy known as Isaac, who's always down to make a trade, but always makes the wrong ones. Next up in my rankings will probably be Jonah. Look at his receivers. He's got Michael Thomas. He's got Juju. He's got that other good receiver. He's got Saquon Barkley. He's got Cam Newton. What does this guy not have? A championship ring. That's what he doesn't have. So then my next up would probably be either... I'd probably be Jeremy. Jeremy's got a good squad, except if I had $1 for every time the guy texted in the chat, I'd probably have like 50 cents. So the next up, it'd probably be Isaac, the guy behind the camera as we speak. And this is because... Sorry, I forgot to do someone else here. Yeah, Dickie first. Dickie's team, he's got some Vikings, all right? But his team's not half bad. He beat me one week, actually. One of the 5 people to do so this year. Yeah, think about that. Next up would probably be Ethan Tucker. Ahead of Isaac Miles, because Ethan Tucker's team is so good. He has so many assets, including Devontae Freeman. Darius Geis, who has played a lot of NFL games. He's very experienced, so therefore he has a lot of value. Correct, Ethan Tucker? Next, who am I forgetting here? Isaac Miles. His team used to be so great. Had names such as Todd Gurley, Odell Beckham, Keenan Allen, George Kittle, and even Hunter Henry. And now he has sad names such as Christian McCaffrey, Leonard Fournette, Jarvis Landry, Cooper Kupp, and Devin Funchess. So, next up on my list is Julius. Julius, there was one day I was on vacation, and I was like, I'm going to offer Julius a trade. So I went into the Sleeper Bot app, offered you a trade, and I clicked on assets acquired for me. And I was looking at your team, and I was thinking, these guys are all trash. Which of these guys would I ever start if my third running back got hurt? None of them. Your best running back is Kerryon Johnson, who you overvalue more than Ethan Tucker overvalues Darius Geis, who hasn't even played one NFL game. Do you realize how insane that is? You value his upside more than I value my peanut butter and jelly at 12 p.m. every single day at school. It's pretty high value. Let me think about it. Your receivers? Yeah, you traded away your best one, Jarvis Landry, to Isaac. Nice going there. Are you trying to rebuild? To win in 10 years? Because your team sucks now and it's never going to be good. Jake. Yeah, you're probably ahead of Julius, but I just did this wrong. Jake, you don't really text in the chat at all, and you kind of inherited a decent team. You got Tyreek Hill, but yeah, he broke his kid's arm, so yeah, that feels bad, man. When your kid didn't do his chores, so you just break his arm. Tyreek Hill face. So yeah, that rounds out my rankings for this year's teams and Boom Roasted Fantasy Football League. Okay, so what me and Jacob are going to do, we're going to give one tip for each other player in the league.
Start with you.
Start with me. All right, next person.
Keep doing what you're doing.
That's a good tip. That's always a good tip.
Hey. I would say the same to Ryan, Jonah, and Dickie. They're all doing pretty well. Dickie hasn't lost since he's gotten Gurley. We mentioned that earlier.
That's a fact.
I think that's doing well. I would encourage Jeremy to trade a little more. Same with Jonah, I guess.
I would encourage Jonah to get a Snapchat. Jonah, get a Snapchat so you're easier to access.
Or respond in the chat either.
Or at least send me your address so I can send you some mail. Stamps are costing me a lot these days, though. So yeah.
I think talking to Isaac Miles now. I think you should not get so many picks. I think a few would be good, but not try to get 8 in the first round of this year's draft class, which is not that good. I mean, it's okay. There's top 4 are decent, but after that, it's pretty much it. Any tips for?
Yes. Let me
Jake
do some quick
Hughes?
research here. All right. So for my rankings / tips, I'd give Jacob a tip.
Okay.
Keep being the guy that people want to trade with. If you want to make trades, you're the guy to go to trades with. You have a lot of assets, and you're always willing to make a trade. You have good valuations for your players. Unlike someone else in our league named Ryan Mish.
Oh, I picked up James Conner for $0. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, well, I picked up Patrick Mahomes for $8, and that man won me the entire league. For Jonah, yeah, get a Snapchat or send me your address so I can mail you some hate mail. Dickie, stop coming into Mr. Hahn's class when he doesn't want you in there. He's annoyed about it, man. We get it, the 76ers suck, but you don't have to write it on the board every single day. All right, Isaac, a tip for you. Keep doing what you're doing, man. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep acquiring picks and trading away good players that are actually in the NFL right now. For Ethan Tucker, keep doing what you're doing besides losing games. Yeah, it doesn't help. It does not help. You had the worst record last season and finished last. Yeah, how does that make you feel? You overvalue Darius Geis like crazy. The man's played as many NFL games as me. Why don't you just put me on your Dynasty team? I have some upside. I could play in the NFL one day if I was 6'5", 225 pounds, and got a tan. To the extreme. So those are my tips for everyone in the league.
We didn't talk about Jake or Julius.
I only mentioned relevant people.
Thank you for watching Fantasy Boss. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And let me know if you want Ethan in more of these videos. Or less or none.
Or Brickman.
Or Brickman or whatever. Thank you.